Have you ever stumbled across something online, something just so weird, it almost feels like a glitch, like it shouldn't actually be there, but it is? Today, we're diving into exactly that kind of digital mystery. It's a story that, well, it sort of blends the everyday with something genuinely quite unsettling. We're going deep into the really strange world of Orie Chef, or one of her many names, a Facebook phenomenon that had people confused and honestly a little creeped out.
Yeah, and these kinds of online mysteries, they're fascinating. They often become these sort of accidental social experiments, don't they? Showing how quickly something bizarre can just spiral into this huge digital myth where reality gets blurry. It sets a very intriguing and, yeah, sometimes unsettling tone for what we're looking at today.
Okay, so let's unpack this Orie Chef thing. The discovery, which seems to have happened a few years back by Facebook users, was just fundamentally odd. Imagine finding a Facebook profile, right? And you look at the friends list, and every single friend is the same person. Not just, someone with multiple accounts. This network of profiles, all using pictures of the same woman. And the names were all variations, like Marjorie, Orie Chef, Marjorie Site, sometimes just initials like R or D or Marge, and they were all friends with each other, like a hall of mirrors, but just reflecting herself.
It's immediately peculiar, isn't it, that self-friending network? It just makes you stop and think, what does this kind of setup even suggest about, online identity, or maybe behavior that's just completely outside what we normally see on social media? It's definitely a unique digital footprint.
Right. And it wasn't only the weirdness of the friend network. The content on these profiles started to paint an even stranger picture. Let me share a couple of examples people found. Now, bear in mind, these seem to be rough translations, possibly from Filipino. One post went something like, "Good evening, I have a friend named Susan, but I call her Susie. She's single and still available. I hope she's listening." And apparently there's some ambiguity in the original language, where the word for she might also mean a future husband. So the intent is just unclear. Odd. And then there were posts like this one. On its own, maybe it's just a personal thought, I want to be cremated first before my husband. After that, spread my ashes at a body of water, a beach where my family and I enjoyed spending time together. But when you see that kind of post within this bizarre context, this closed loop of profiles, even seemingly normal wishes start to feel a bit unnerving.
That really shows how powerful context is, doesn't it? Something potentially harmless, maybe even poignant in another situation. But you view it through this lens of mystery, this weird online setup. And suddenly it feels unsettling. It primes you, the viewer, to find something darker, even in the mundane.
But then there was the really unsettling stuff. It wasn't all ambiguous posts or strange wishes. People started noticing that every so often, some of these Orie accounts would post gory imagery of different kinds, just graphic pictures. Now, we're not going to describe those images here, obviously, but it's a really key part of why this whole thing felt so disturbing. It shifted the whole vibe from just weird internet thing to something genuinely alarming. This mix of the ordinary and the horrific really grabbed attention, especially after a specific Facebook post in 2017 kind of blew it up for Filipino users.
Yeah, that 2017 post basically just laid out the facts as people understood them. Multiple accounts, same woman's picture, all linked together, and mentioned that even back then, the most recent post seemed to be from a few years earlier. But here's where it took a really chilling turn. That same 2017 post made this incredibly disturbing claim. It said that out of all of the accounts, there is one that claims to want to harm their child. Now, this is crucial. The person who originally researched this found zero proof.
No screenshots, no direct link to that claim, nothing attached to the 2017 post or anywhere else. It was just this single terrifying sentence, an unverified whisper floating out there.
And that's incredibly potent, isn't it? How one unproven claim, especially something so fundamentally awful, like harming a child, how it can just take root and amplify the entire mystery. It stops being just a rumor, becomes this example of how collective fear and imagination can build on almost nothing, can construct this truth that feels more real and terrifying than any hard evidence. And it completely changes how you see everything else about Orie Chef.
So amidst all this strangeness and these disturbing claims, someone actually tried to get an answer. The source material mentions one instance where a user directly messaged one of the Orie accounts. They asked her, what's the deal with all these profiles? And Orie, or Marjorie, supposedly replied. Her explanation was, well, judge for yourself. She claims she made the accounts on a rented computer and just forgot to log out, or forgot the passwords. Now that really strains belief, doesn't it? I mean, even if you try to accept it, it suggests her accounts were basically hijacked. But then why the self-friending structure from the start? Why so many accounts? It just doesn't track. It feels like it just adds another layer of to the whole thing.
Well, absolutely. It pushes plausibility right to the edge, maybe over it. A single forgotten login. Okay, maybe. But setting up this whole interconnected web of profiles because you kept forgetting to log out of different rental computers, it sounds more like a story made up after the fact than a simple mistake. It really just highlights how complex digital identity can be, and how easy it is for digital trails to get confusing whether someone means for them to or not. Leaves us with more questions, really.
Which brings us right to the biggest problem with trying to understand Orie Chef now. The source pointed out that people were asking about this years ago, right? Back then, maybe you could have traced things, figured out which accounts were the originals. But ever since that big wave of attention started around 2017, well, most of the Orie Chef accounts you might find today are probably fake. They're just people jumping on the bandwagon, trying to ride the spook wave, as the source put it. It happens all the time with these internet mysteries, unfortunately.
Yeah, and this spook wave makes it virtually impossible now to know for sure which accounts, if any, were connected to the original person or people behind this really bizarre activity. It's like trying to find the first drop of rain in a puddle during a downpour. The original signal is just lost in all the noise.
Exactly. And if you look at the bigger picture, it's almost a textbook example of how digital folklore or internet myths are born and evolve. Once something captures the public imagination like this and people start mimicking it, trying to verify the original information becomes incredibly difficult, maybe even impossible. The original truth, assuming there even was a single clear truth, gets buried under all these layers of imitation, speculation, and, well, spooky storytelling. It might just be lost for good.
So where does that leave us with Orie Chef? We've gone through this really unsettling story, this bizarre network of self-friending profiles, posts that swung from weirdly ambiguous to actively disturbing, and these unverified, chilling claims about potential harm. And then the whole thing just dissolves into the state where you can't really verify anything anymore because it's been copied and diluted so much. It's a mystery that kind of eats itself in the end.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? What does this whole Orie Chef case reveal about just how fluid and maybe unverifiable identity and even reality can be online? And, maybe more profoundly, what happens when a mystery like this takes on a life of its own? When it grows far beyond whatever its actual origins were, forever blurring that line between what might have been real and what's just become part of the collective digital ghost story.
Definitely leaves you with a lot to think about. It's a strange corner of the internet, that's for sure. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Orie Chef phenomenon. We'll catch you on the next one.